Hey, it's Laura. So I inherited a cymbidium orchid from a client that was in terrible shape. It was just covered with dead strappy leaves, and you can see that there's still a few that are still on here. And I started cleaning it up, and I realized, let me show you how to do that. I think too many people feel that orchids are one and done. After it's done blooming, you toss it, which is horribly wasteful because, first of all, they're very expensive. You have to take care of them, and then just to throw it away with a little bit of care and some patience, because you have to be patient if you're a gardener. There's just no getting around that. But with a little bit of patience and some know-how, they will bloom every year, sometimes a couple of times a year, and will live for decades, sometimes multiple decades. They're amazing plants. So I've got a couple of videos that I'm going to splice together and put for you so you can see how it all works. And don't throw away your orchids. Stop wasting money. What the heck? What are you, a Rockefeller? Cut that out. Okay, so I have taken out most of the potting mix and just kind of gotten my fingers in here to loosen it up and shaken out most of the orchid planting medium. And this stuff can go right into the compost. You can use it to repot other plants. Compost is probably better. But you'll notice that these roots are brown and they're kind of looking a little desiccated. They even sound like hollow, dry husks in a way. But if we look over here, you can see that these are really bright and they're thick, they're stiff, they don't yield. So these are the roots that we want to keep. So if we come back over here and you see some of these funky ones, that is a perfect one. But at the top right there, that's new growth. So I don't want to get rid of that. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut right underneath. And then that just gets added to the mix of compost. There's another great little place where you could see that it's succulent and healthy right here. We've got a new growth here. This is not looking so great. So I'm just going to get right in here, turn it off. Boom. Now we've got healthy growth. We're going to encourage it to branch even further, and then we'll put some new potting medium in there, and this plant is going to look great in a couple of months. And then there's this floppy, disgusting, diseased thing, and you can pull it, you can cut it off, and you're going to make the plant healthier for having done so. You want to just get all of that off, and you can see it's not healthy, and I'm left with just this root hair, and you're not getting anything into the plant when you do that. You also have, you can see that it's a series of bulbs. This is a bulb, and this is a bulb. This is a healthy new shoot, yay! And then this is a bulb, and you need 4 for them to rebloom. At least 3. Most varieties you need 4, but on this one I need 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one is not only completely brown, as you can see, there's just nothing good right there. It does have a little shoot, but the shoot is brown at the tip. It's not doing me any good. Also, it smells. It smells like rot. So this bulb is done. I want it off the plant, and I'm going to either, oh, it's coming. I can pull it off. Sometimes you have to cut it off. That tells you right now that this isn't very healthy. And I just give it a tug. It's just rot. I don't want that. And the plant doesn't want that either. So whenever you see some of these brown bulbs, like this large one right here, and see the leaf is dying on it, it's squishy, it's not healthy, nothing good is going to come from it. So I can take my trusty shears, and just like a small child, you just cut it off. You know, you're supposed to cut off children's feet annually, and it makes them grow stronger. Is that children? Is that starfish? Anyway, sounds reasonable. Sounds right. I'm sticking with it. So I'm going to cut this off, and then I'll come back and show you how it looks all cleaned up. Okay? Okay, I cleaned it up even more. The stuff that I cut off was smelling. This poor little baby. I'm fixing it. You can see that I have lots of little shoots all right in here. So this is where the plant is going to be growing. This is the direction it's going to be growing. So I'm going to put this back end, where it's this nice bald bare spot, that is going to go up against the side of the pot so that it has plenty of room to grow and expand. And then I probably will not replant this for 2 years. Pretty simple. But after it's done blooming, I'll reassess and see how much it's grown in a year. But it's a game of patience. That's how it works, but you get rewarded with a plant that will keep a bloom for sometimes up to 2 months. It's pretty great. So I'm going to get this potted up and show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've got my little friend tucked in. I did wet some sphagnum peat moss and mix that in with the dry orchid mix. Please use orchid mix. Do not use potting soil because you're going to rot it. And since this was rotting when I rescued it, I'm not going to add any more water to it just yet. I'll probably give it a couple of days to kind of chill out. And I'm inside. And you have to, when it comes to watering orchids, probably one of the best ways to think of this is to remember where orchids are native. They typically grow in tropic, subtropical regions, and they grow against trees. Their roots climb over the bark of trees. So they're exposed and they collect moisture from the air, but they're not necessarily getting drenched because, again, if they're on the bark of a tree, the rainfall is being diverted because of the leaves and the trunk and the branches. So it's not getting soaked and doused like a water plant would be. So that's just, please don't overwater your orchids. And when you do water them, the smartest thing to do is to either get a bucket if you only have 1 or 2 orchids, but I have several. So I fill my sink up with lukewarm water. You don't want it hot and you don't want it cold. They grow in the subtropics. So you want it to be, where either you can't feel it on your skin and slightly cooler, a little warmer than room temperature, that kind of thing. So lukewarm. Fill up your sink and put the pot down in it. Because if you have water sitting on top of the crown, you're going to rot it. So it takes its water up in through the medium where the roots are. The tops stay nice and dry and they don't rot. And then when it comes time, every couple of months when you need to fertilize your orchid, while they're sitting in the water, add the fertilizer to the sink or to your bucket if you just have the one after it's been in there for a few minutes. Never, ever, ever fertilize a dry plant. You will burn it and you will kill it. Let's not do that. We just did all this work. We want it to live. So orchids are amazing. I've got a Phalaenopsis right there that's going to get the same treatment. And when I cut that stem, you can see the little loopy stem. When I cut that off, I'm going to dust that cut end with some cinnamon, like just pantry cinnamon, and that protects, it's like a fungicide. It is a fungicide, actually. It's a natural fungicide. And that'll protect any, in case there was some kind of bugaboo or whatever on this plant, I won't pass that on to the next plant, even though I'm going to very carefully sterilize my beautiful, fabulous, I've used these for years and years and years, shears. It's just always nice to just be a little bit cautious. And orchids are wonderful. Please stop throwing them out. Please just give them a little attention. It's just a plant in the background. Put it somewhere where it's not getting blasted by the sun, because again, they're underneath trees, and where they're not getting blasted by your air conditioning, because again, they're outside and air conditioning isn't outside. And they should last for years and years and years, and they'll just get bigger and better, and sometimes you can even split them and make more. Kind of my favorite thing to do. But thank you so much for listening. I'm Texan, sorry. Thank you for listening and watching this video, and there's going to be a lot more coming. So thanks. Have a good one.